welcome to the Ragnar Brothers, and we're talking today about the Romans. And many of you may have heard that this was our final game. We're finishing our time as self-publishers. People have asked why we're doing that. Well, we're all now retired, and I don't think any of us wanted to make the Ragnar Brothers feel like work, and there's a danger of that happening. And I think as well, we've got to a point where we feel we're struggling a little bit with social media overall. We don't quite have the knack of getting our promotion out as well as we'd like. And that's one of the reasons we're talking to you today about the Romans again, because a lot of people have said in the comments on BGG, they're finding things difficult and quite complicated, and we want to really sort of reply to that. We don't do that on BGG and get into any great row with people. But I think there's a point here we want to make about the way we design games, and this game in particular, and sort of reflect on that, and hopefully people will pick that up and maybe find that interesting. So let's go back to this box top first of all, because it sort of encapsulates what the game's about, which is what I want to get across to you today. That we're trying to get this from Mark, our wonderful artist, who will do lots of things as we suggest and put his own stamp on it as well. It's very Bruegel-esque. It's got lots of things going on, little people doing things, activity going on over at the top. It's got a look at the map to show it's got that whole expansive feel to the whole game, but it's also got this city of Rome, which is encapsulating what's in the game. And it's very, very busy, and this is a very busy sort of game. It's got lots of moving parts, none of which are particularly complicated, but which, when you read the rule book, people sort of dwell on and think maybe they could understand the whole thing by reading the rule book. But it's not that straightforward. It's really quite a difficult game to put together in your head, which is one of the reasons I want to show you what we're doing today. So let's just have a quick look at that rule book as well, just so that those people who have not come across the game to see what people are talking about. One person said they thought they could get the game down to 8 pages of rules, which is frankly rather balmy. We've got 16 pages. First page is explaining the components. Second page is explaining the components with one or two little bits of detail on some of the features of the game. For example, somebody said they didn't understand what the red arrows on the map meant. Well, the explanation of that is in this little bit of diagram here, which I think is fair enough, because this whole map features bit that's precisely what it's about. It explains what the map features are. So then you get to setting up, and one person has commented and said, why didn't we just do a diagram of the setup? Well, look at it on the table. It's huge to set it up, and you're going to need some words somewhere to explain all the different bits you're going to place on. So we've just used words, and if you use words very, very carefully, which we do, it takes hundreds of hours to put these rules together, then we can get it right. So that's our excuse, get our carping in early. Then we come to the play sequence. So this is to help people get their heads around the sequence of the game, and just to say that same sequence then is featured on the back page, so that if you're playing the game you can have a ready reference part. Then we start to actually get to what you might call the rules proper, the preparation, going through the different parts of it, and you'll see very quickly that Roman expansion then comes in. Now, any game where you are doing movement on a map and combating is going to take a fair bit more explanation. We were brought up on games like SPI games, War in the East, and you had rule books which are tomes, because explaining how to combat and how to move things is always more complicated. So we've got through that in 2 and a bit pages, quite a bit of which is diagrammatic and some sequential bits. You then come to the enemy response. Now, the enemy response is basically very, very similar to the Roman expansion. This is the AI part of the game, where instead of a player playing the aggressive part of the game, we get the the game itself playing back against you. So a lot of these rules are actually very, very tied in with the Roman expansion. So you don't find it is new material at all. It's re-saying that, but from the point of view of the enemy. For example, the combat is almost identical, as you'll see when we show it. Then you come to further rules. And these are the rules about the, what you might call the bits that give the game a real depth of interest. They're not complicated, but they're to do with things like claiming glory, or how to use the gods, or how to claim these triumph tokens at the edge of the board. These are the things that give the game rather more kind of character and feel. Not just going through the motions of one or two things and happening, but within the game you're going to get certain events that tell a story and give a sense of momentum and real interest. You've then got one or two little bits and pieces like the fall of Rome, which is a particular moment in history which can't be explained in the same way as all the other parts of the game. What happens when Rome falls? Is it the end of the game? Well, no, it's not. What we try to do with that rule is tie it in with other rules that come at the very end of the game, so that although it's an isolated rule, it still feels embryonic with the rest of the game. Finally, winning the game. And now, we're now up to page 13, rules for 3 players and 2 players. Now, one person said, oh, you've got to learn the rules for 3 players and 2 players before you can do the solo game. Well, there they are, the 3 and 2 player games. You don't need to use the 2 player rules, so you do need to know these 3 player rules because of one feature, that you have to know how these blocking tokens work on here. And that's it. It's not that complicated. Now we come to the solo rules, which is a bonus, I always think. We never used to put these in, but anybody who wants to play a solo game, clearly we've tried to do that as well as we can. We've tried to make these fit the multiplayer game as far as we can, because then you've got a real sense of how the multiplayer games, and we particularly like it so that if we want to teach somebody else the game, we can do a run through ourselves, play a proper game, and then have a real good grasp of it. Finally, you've got a little bit of explanation of these buildings along here. Now, each of these buildings is a separate characterful mechanic within the game. These are not the same building repeated with just numbers changing, or as you might do in, say, a game where you have a character card. So you might have 6 types of dwarf or whatever you've got. These are all separate types of building, each doing a different function. So some of those need a little bit more explanation than we've been able to give on the card or the building itself. Finally, back to the back page, sequence again, and the credits. So that's your rule book. People have found that too difficult for them. Well, we try our best. We spend hours and hours and hours putting it together. Now, we've also done several videos already on what's not to like, going through the whole sequence of the game, as has Rick has done something. So now what we're going to do today is look at the second era. So we've already started the game off, and just play it through. And Gary may chip in some little comments if I forget bits and pieces that to draw in more of the detail of the game. But we're going to try and show you some of how these small rules, which are fairly simple, all interconnect. Okay, first of all, let's have a look at what's on the table. You here have our cloth array, which was we gained as a Kickstarter bonus, as a stretch goal, and it is representing the city of Rome. You start off with 5 basic buildings, each giving a feature of what the game can do. So you start with how you can improve the value of your senators. Here you can recruit legions. Here you can go to the Temple of Jupiter to allow you to access the gods. Here you build buildings and fleets. And here is where you collect revenue. You then have 5 more spaces, and there are 6 buildings that can go on here. So this is randomized, making each game very, very different. So we'll take 1 or 2 of these as they come through. This one we've already turned over, was the ability to build more buildings and fortifications at a cheaper price. At this side of the board, of the array, we then have the enemy and Rome cards, which allow us to see what strength of army we're going to play that turn. And we'll come into that when we come to that in a minute. But those again are 2 sets of Roman cards and 2 sets of enemy cards. So you can separate those out and randomise them, and each game will therefore play very differently. Around the edge of the board you've got score track. You have turn order here, which is dictated by who's in the lead on the score track. You've got a couple of generals which will come onto the map here. Here you've got some reminders of the Christian cities building or conversion to Christian cities at the eras 4 and 5. And here you have a space for the era markers which will be used on these cards. I think, Gary, that covers everything, doesn't it?
Yes, well, I'm sure you'll talk about the triumphs and the glory.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to that now. So here's the last thing above the board, the glory chart. And what this does is it gives a little bit of focus for players during the game as to where they're going to expand on the map. So you can see it's got different regions on the map, and also when you claim your glory, you get points for how many cities you've already built. So this meshing together of different parts of the game is critical, and that's a crucial point. If you want to get ahead by good margins on glories, you need to build some cities as well. Right, now to the map itself. There are 4 maps in the game overall, and all slightly different. Not majorly different, but the position of the resources is always different. And we also have on this map an extra strait, meaning that there's a land bridge between Gaul and Britain. Each of these outside regions has got a slightly different combination of the generals with the armies there. That's for when they fight back at the later part of the game. So also on the map you've got places of barracks where the legions go. You've got the villa where you store your senators, a citadel which is bonus actions in the game, and the docks for storing your resources and gold. The map itself has got provinces divided into 2, combined in 2s to give regions. And these are, there's a reason for this, is that you don't overbuild the map. You can't cram cities and fortifications into the whole, into every single province on the map. We'll come to that as we go through. Down here you have a battle track to help you with your calculation in the combat. You can do it in your head. After you've got used to the game, you probably won't be using this, but initially it's very, very helpful, particularly for new players. At the edge of the board we have these triumph tokens. In the solo game you get 2 triumph tokens on here, and the multiplayer game you just get 1. There's a reason for that. Again, we'll come to that as we go through. These are, as you see, the extremities of the empire. It's a sense of when you've achieved that goal of reaching Germany or Britain or Mesopotamia, you get a special bonus. And this bonus is secret till the end of the game. It's another feature of the game we wanted to have, was that you weren't absolutely certain who was winning until you'd done the count on those points at the end. Fleets. We're going to talk about those fleets, ships, a little bit later in the game when we come to get to some point with that. So let's look at the actual drama of the game. Now these are the native forces. The board is seeded with these at the beginning. We flip those over when we attack and to get different values in there, and sometimes there's gold which we receive for conquering those provinces. Here are the Roman legions. So far in Era 1 we have expanded through southern Italy and built a fort and a city. We've got our new fleet on. Then afterwards the enemy counterattacked from a Venetia, I think it was, or was it? Yes, I think it was Venetia. Came through and reconquered Rome here, destroying the city and fort there. At this point in the game, the rules for loss of Rome come into play, and very simply, their enemy army is taken off and we get our legion back on and we lose 5 victory points. That's where we've got to so far. We're up to date. Ready to start?
Go.
So, first thing we're going to do is roll the glory dice over here. So, for ourselves, we're looking to conquer Gaul. If we do that, we will get 5 victory points. The enemy glory token, and this is just for the solo game, is going to be in Mauritania. If we fail to conquer Mauritania, the enemy will receive 5 glory points. Now we turn over next the next building. So in the first era, we turned over the amphitheatre. Now we're turning over the theatre. Theatre of Balbus.
Just show what's underneath there.
Yeah, okay. So because it's a solo game, this feature comes into play. And this means that somebody, either the enemy or Rome, is going to be awarded 20 victory points. And this is dependent on whether it's got this feature or not. It has got this feature, which means we've got a new senator appearing for Rome. So we claim our senator, place that in the villa, and because Rome has got that, it's the enemy gets a 20 victory points. Obviously, this gives another advantage to Rome, so the enemy gets 20 victory points. Zooms up to 40 points. Now that immediately means that we now change the turn order, because now the player at the back becomes the first player. The person in the lead becomes the last player to play. It's an advantage going first. So we've done that by using the victory point track. Got that? So that's Theatre of Balbus. Now, you'll also notice this is where we score victory points in the game. Up till now, Rome has had only the opportunity from the glory token there to score victory points. Now, gets a chance of using the Theatre of Balbus. As you can see, it gets points for fleets, cities, walls and forts. It's also got that token on the back, which is called a blocking token. In all games except the 4-player game, we block off one of the areas on the map there where the senators go, simply to make the game just a bit more interesting. Otherwise you can do everything, and it makes a really interesting little tactical part of the game.
And that's random every time.
That's random, yeah. So that's all done. Now the next thing we're going to do is turn over a new era card. So the Roman turn is about to begin. Roman campaigning and senator placement. The first thing we're going to do is choose a leader. So we roll a dice, 1. Again, this is in the 4-player game, this wouldn't happen, but in all of the games it does. Again, this blocks out one of the choices. We now look to see who's leading on the score track, who's the first player. The first player is Rome. So in this case, we get to choose which leader we want. You'll see that on the shields, it's got 3, 4 and 4. This is the size of army you can have. That's the most important criteria on the card. So you're usually choosing the one with the largest army. You'll also see that Flaccus, one of the kings of Rome, has got a fleet. Fleets are always good. And I think most people like to get the fleets on if they possibly can. So that becomes our choice.
And he comes with just a slightly less money
That's
than
right.
the other ones.
That's right. How much has it got there?
3.
3. All right, so let's put that on there. Claim our 3 gold before we forget. As you'll see, we'd spent up.
He's obviously spent his money on the fleet.
And we're a bit short of money, so bear that in mind, Gary, as we go. We now get the fleet, and we can choose either of the 3 fleets. The only difference is there's a number on the back. Now I'm going to place that into this sea here. As you see, there's only 3 areas to go. Let's quickly explain the fleets, because this is a good example of how the game meshes together with very simple rules, but ones that if you try and read the whole rule book in isolation before you start playing it, it's hard to mesh it together. And we could also write a whole section of rules on fleets alone, but then we'd have to interconnect each of the things we say to the rules elsewhere. So a fleet, as you see there, can come on the map by being received from that card. So there's rules for that. If there was, if we'd taken the fortification, which we could have got from that card there, sometimes there isn't a place to place the fortification. So you need a rule then to say that the fortification goes into the villa, and that you've got to place that before the end of the era, otherwise you lose it. So take that off, that's not long. So in the case of the fleet, we were always going to be able to place it. it's gone into there. It doesn't move. It just sits there. Now, here are some of the rules that are connected with fleets. First of all, it can be used by our armies like a stepping stone. So when we expand with our Roman legions, we can go, say, from Apulia straight into Asia, or from here to here. But in order to that, so that the game doesn't become too fluid and able to everything, as soon as you've used that in an area, you flip it over to this side. And now, it can't be used again. So you only get one chance to do that. This gives a sense of the game being not just something that's totally randomised. You want to get the sense of the game. The expanding is tricky and that it has some reflection on history. You're not just bobbing around wherever you want to go. So that goes there. Now, the second thing a fleet can do, which is irrespective of whether it's turned over or not, is that if you want to claim these resources from this Western Mediterranean, you can only claim these 3 if you've got a fleet built here.
And you've taken them yourself for the
And
Roman.
you've obviously got to occupy. Thank you, Gary. Yeah. You've obviously got to occupy those areas. We haven't at the moment, but if you're occupying them, when you claim revenue, you have to have a fleet to claim that. So another little rule of the fleets there, just to give this sense that they're more important than just for military purposes. The next thing the fleet does is that it will prevent other players, the enemy in this case, it's always the enemy, from attacking straight from their region. So supposing Egypt got a fleet when it came out, if it gets a fleet, this would just simply knock out this fleet. If we didn't have that fleet though, Egypt would get a fleet in there and could then attack towards, much more directly, towards Rome itself. A simple rule, but it's important to make that rule clear, and it is a separate rule to every other rule in the game. And finally, as you'll see, it's got this number on. Well, the number is useful because it shows us when the fleet has been used. It's got dual purpose. We always try to do this in our designs. If we've got one feature in the game, make it do more than one thing. So this shows that it's been used, but it's also used when we come to the enemy turn. You'll see storms at sea, so that you can't just put your fleets on and they last forever, come what may. You get a random dice roll, and if you roll a 2 here, you'd be losing that fleet, so you have to start again building the fleet. And that represents not really storms at sea. We use that phrase because it trips off the tongue better. Sometimes vocabulary is important like that. But we used it, but it really represents just general attrition, maybe other nations harrying you and making it not possible to be the pond for the Romans.
And we are talking about hundreds of years of time in which naval supremacy waxed and waned.
Yeah, true. And we're also talking about making a good game that is fun. And you might think to yourself, "Oh, that sounds a bit torturous and difficult." But bear in mind, if you're playing with 4 players and you've all got fleets on, that dice roll applies to everybody. So you're sharing the suffering, which is it's a sort of type of fun, isn't it, Gary?
Sort of, yes.
Right, okay. Well, it's taken us a while to do that, but again, we're trying to show all those elements that come into play just by that simple selection process over there. Now, if I'm not correct, Gary, I've not missed anything out. We're ready to begin. So now we have to start making some decisions as to what we're going to do. Right, well, Gary's just pointed out we've already done 23 minutes on this video. We were trying to keep it to half an hour. We're not going to manage that, but we're only going to do this one era. We are going to play this at a fairly good pace. So let me not dwell on things too much. I've already gone on at length about different bits. Here are the 5 senators we've got in play. We're going to start off by... We're going to need some more revenue and resources, I think. But let's start by doing an attack. We're going to take our 4 legions. Remember, the maximum army size is 4. And we're going to place them together with our senator in Etruria. I've taken the very best senator, the 4-pointer, because he gives us +3 to our attack. We flip over. Oh, I didn't want to see that. That is an unrest token. So another part of the game comes into play. Well, that's okay. Let's do the attack. 4 legions gives us 4 on the dice. And +3, 1, 2, 3. Means we start off at 7. He's starting off at 6. What am I saying? 1. There's a difference of 6. Roll the dice. Adds 5 to that. Adds 5 to that. Hey ho. an easy win for the Roman. This man comes off, he goes into the pot, randomising who comes back on. But we mustn't forget to put the unrest marker on. This will prevent us from claiming gods, which is what I was wanting to try and do. If you've got unrest in Italy, you cannot claim a god. Here's the occupation of Etruria by that, and we can march on to an adjacent land.
Might be worth us just saying that that unrest will also stop you getting income from a land that's got a resource marker in, for instance.
Yeah. And also, if you're attacked by the enemy,
no defence.
There's no defence. Yeah, thank you. Right, let's flip the next one. By the way, we're heading towards, where did we say we're going to go to? Oh, Gaul. We're trying to go for our glory, which is in Gaul here. So we're going to try and get some victory points after that. Flipped it over. Now, the enemy now is worth 2 because he's got a city as well as an army there. And we've dropped down to 6. Still good odds. Yes, it's a win. Most of the time, the attacker is going to be winning.
And there's a gold marker on there.
There is. We claim 1 gold, which we're going to need. Lovely. Just to say that in the solo game you don't really notice this, but in a multiplayer game, these dice rolls happen for anybody else who's attacking. So although you're doing this combat, those combats can be going on everybody else's board, and therefore the time factor is reduced enormously in this game compared to other games that use combat in this way, or a similar way. Let's go to Gaul.
Leaving 1 legion behind.
Yeah. So we're down to 5, and the enemy is up to 3. So now the odds are getting closer.
Oh, he's a bit of a big boy.
Oh, we've got a 6 and a 1 though, so that's an easy win for us as well. Into the pot, claim our gold. And now we've achieved glory. We take this marker off to show we've achieved it, and we collect 5 points, plus we have 1 city, gives us another point, we get 6 points. Typical score at the end of the game is about 120, 140, 150 perhaps. So 6 points is not immaterial. If you do that all 5 times, you could be up to 30, 40 points. We're going to do an invasion to Mauritania because the glory for the enemy is Mauritania. So here's a fleet in action. We use our fleet. We land in Mauritania, we flip that over to show it's been used. Can't use that again this era. What have we got? It's worth 2. And we're at 4. That's decent odds. Oh, just succeeded. We would also succeed on a tie, because again the attacker gets the benefit most of the time. Excellent. So the enemy is not going to receive any points for that. End of the campaign. We put our general in the barracks, so we don't get him mixed up with the other senators. Right, so what I want to do now is I want to get rid of this unrest here. So we're going to use one of our less expensive, less valuable senators and roll a dice. It gives us a 3. So we got 1 because it's a 1-point senator, and because we rolled a 3 we get +2. It gives us 3 action points to use. You'll see here you've got 3 things you can do. We can't do the Christian cities until the 4th era, so ignore that. But we can take off 1 unrest, which we're doing from Etruria. So that gives 1 of the actions. And then that just leaves 2 gold we can claim for the other 2 actions. So it gives us a bit more gold. But it's used the senator up. Now we're going to use this resource because we're going to take our 3-point senator, place him in the Temple of Jupiter. Now when we go into these temples, we must use the coloured resource, place it on top. So you don't get a free go there, you've got to use these resources in order to do that. And this allows us to go and take one of the gods. And because we're so short of resources, I'm planning on taking Mercury, which is the guy who gives us more resources. There are 2 functions to each of the gods. But one that kind of most people are using, particularly in the solo game, is going to be this side where you're rolling a dice to try and get some really good bonus. So take the dice. Are you focused on that, Gary? Can you see the dice? Here we go. Big moment. We've got +2 to the dice because we use one of our better senators. Let's see what we've got. It's not bad. 3 plus 2 gives 5. We can split that into 2 if we wish. We could take a 4 and a 1. But we're going to take the 5 straight off. Take any 6 resources and 10 more gold. Not bad. We're going to take 2 of each resource. That's going to tool us up pretty well. So you might say to yourself, well, why don't you keep on taking that god each time you want to get some resources? Well, in the solo game, you can only use this god once in one era. That's out of the game after this. We may use it aside in a minute, but most likely that's all we're going to do with that. So we've not got that chance to do that. So from now on, any more resources we're going to have to get from the map.
Obviously, in a multiplayer game, you can use it once an era if you manage to claim it first.
Yes, so other players may want to get that one. But the other gods are equally exciting. It's a big moment when you take a god. Some people say, oh, it's a bit random, a bit too much you can do with the gods. Well, that's what we want. We want a sense of, drama and excitement when you do that. And of course, if you don't roll very well, you could be taking 1 resource and 1 gold if you'd only used your least valuable senator there. So it's fine when you're doing well. Of course, if you're playing a 3-player game, say, or a 4-player game, there might only be 1 place left. So you could be rolling pretty poorly and shabbily. It doesn't feel that good when that happens. I did mention we had to take off the unrest there in order to claim that. You have to occupy the whole of Italy to use the gods with no unrest. So again, that gives you that historic drive to the game. You can't kind of shoot everywhere. You've got to get that Italy secure before you can use the gods. Right, we've got 2 senators left to use, 2 and a 1. Plenty of resources, plenty of gold. We've done our attacking quite well. We could do with building some things, I think. So let's now, you see how the blocker hasn't worked too well for me here. I'd have liked to have built several more times. Can't do. I could have gone to the forum, but he's blocked off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Watch carefully. Watch and learn. I'm going to place my 2-point cemetery there. I couldn't place my 1 point. And I'm going to place that in there. I have to pay 2 gold to raise a senator or senators by 2 ranks. So I pay my 2 gold. And I'm going to take the 1-point senator and turn him into a 3. And I'm going to then place him into here, allowing me to build 4 times. I'm going to build some cities. It only costs 1 gold each for a city, so I'm going to rebuild Rome. Hurrah! That's 1. And I'll build in Etruria. That's 2. And then I'd like to fortify those. So I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to build a wall in each. 3, 4. That costs me 4 gold. I could have built forts for free. The fortification of the fort for free. But I've chosen to build a wall because to get much better defence. 4 gold goes in. That's it. Now I've run out of senators. That's the end of my turn. I could, if I had a senator left, start to claim some victory points for the walls and forts I've got. That would have been good. I'd have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 victory points I could claim very easily, plus some bonuses.
Maybe next time, Steve.
Maybe next time. Well, I couldn't do it, could I?
Maybe next era.
Next time. Right.
Let's see what the enemy are doing.
Exactly. So, these come off. Have I forgotten anything, Gary? No, we'll do the clean-up at the end. That's okay. So, storms at sea. We look at the back of this just to remind us before we flip it over. Storms at sea. Oh, 1. So those flipped over. We did have a 1-point fleet, so
off he goes.
It goes backwards. That's not so good. We're not doing these dice rolls at the moment. That's if we're occupying any of those external extreme regions. Flip it over. We do roll the dice again. You see this is similar to the Roman turn, so we're minimising on rules there. So we can't use that. The person in the lead is the enemy still, so I'm going to be choosing If the enemy were behind, they would choose the best leader there. They would have been choosing Mauritania with a fleet. So that would have been bad. And a general. They would have been landing here and attacking into Rome.
Good job they're not choosing.
They're not doing that. Do we want to lose our fleet by taking Macedonia? Not really. Which means we've got to put up with a big Gallic attack. Unfortunately, if we'd not rolled that one, we could have taken 2 coming out of Illyricum, which wouldn't have been quite so bad.
3 into Gaul.
3 into Gaul. I'm not taking the wrong ones. 3 enemy armies come on. And we're now back to the same combat system. They have 3 legions, 3 armies. We have 1 legion. 5,
Oh dear.
3. So that is a victory for them. It comes off. Now then, we're on to the AI rules. We've already done the kind of how you drop into that. It's fairly self-explanatory. We're now starting to move on. Now, when you're moving on in the game, supposing for some reason we're going to go through this region, we just go straight over it because it's already enemy occupied because of that native force there. However, the armies always move towards the nearest city, which is going to be the one in Etruria. So you just go straight to there and we get another combat. Now his force has gone down to 2. It's still winning. That comes off. We come off. Oh, sorry, that comes off. This goes now into Etruria. Now, he's down to 1. We have got 1 legion, a city, and a war, which gives another 2. So we have got a chance here to rebut them, which we have done successfully. So that one comes off. And that is the end of the enemy expansion, which is quick, easy, I don't know, I'll take a lot of sorting out rules to get that as nice and neat and tidy as that.
And now the enemy has breached the barriers of Italy.
Yes, so that will mean we can't claim a god so easily. We have to retake that in our turn. We're going to replace these now by going to this pot. You remember we're taking these off into the pot, so we get a nice randomisation of what comes back on. In a multiplayer game, everybody's armies are going to here, everybody's native forces, so you don't know what you're going to get. So if somebody's been having some bad luck and having some difficult ones to combat, you may be picking theirs up in your turn. You get to look at these, because obviously it's pretty hard to pick them out blind. They happen to be pretty well the same, but this is slightly better because it's got gold on it, so we're going to put them that way around. Take those off and flip those over. Okay, so now we have to do the enemy's scoring. Didn't get any points for glory because we prevented that. Now, because Era 2, and this is just in the solo game, it doesn't happen in any other game, in Era 2, it scores 2 points for each of the native forces on the map. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Brings it up to 62 points. Wow. So in the solo game, you'll see very, very often that the enemy can be miles ahead of you. We're going to have a lot of hard work to do to pull that back. What are our strengths at the moment? Well, we've got a good base in Italy, plenty of points there for when we use the Theatre of Balbus. We've got a fair amount of resources, good amount of gold. That's going to be helpful. We've already got 5 senators and they've been increased in value somewhat, so that's going to help us. I'm doing the clean-up now. And I think we've got luck on our side, if we're not mistaken. I think we'll be okay. We should get there. But it's a challenge, the solo game. There are certain ways you can do it. Now, what have we missed, Gary, that we haven't talked about? We haven't talked about these, have we, the triumphs? Mm-hmm. So if you get to Mesopotamia, in the solo game, you get to look at both these and you're going to choose one of them. What would you choose, Gary? So that's 3 points for certain, or
I would go for 1 point per Italian province occupied at the end.
So you think you can hold out in Italy?
I would hope so.
Hold at least 3, possibly. Yeah. You'll notice as well it's got this icon on. This is extra points at the end of the game. So you might, if you've got the same icon on all 3 of your triumphs, they will be worth 9 points, 3 points each. So It's worth getting 2, even 2 would be worth 4 points each, 4 points in total, 2 each. But one on its own, one harp on its own is just worth 1 point. So that's another little bit of a choice coming into the game. Those are kept secret, so that you don't know. That will be discarded in the solo game. But it's a little unknown element at the end of the game. What else have we got there, Gary?
That god will go out of the game.
The god will go out of the game in the solo game. That's correct. I think that's...
And we're ready to start the next era with the Romans.
I think that will be it.
So do you want to sum up, Steve?
Yeah, I hope that's give you a different way of looking at a game, rather than just sort of ploughing on and trying to explain every single rule. We've tried to show lots of different rules and how they mesh together. I'd like to say something about the overall theme of the game. Somebody said they didn't think it was a very thematic game, and you're kind of going, I don't get that at all, really. Why is it not thematic? To me, this is what a thematic game is. It's not only looking at Rome and it's got a map of the area of the Mediterranean, but actually it's quite a decent simulation of how the Roman kingdom grew into a republic and then into an empire, and then at the end how it crashes down with the final barbarian invasion. So thematically I think it's very, very strong. And I think these small elements like the unrest, like the ships, give you that sense of things not just appearing and scoring points for you, but really interacting well. I think it tells a really good story. It varies from game to game because of the way it's set up. And it's got a nice arc to it. It starts off small, grows, and it contracts slightly at the end there. So I think that's the strength of the game. I think I'd like to say something about Marco's artwork, because we talked about the box top, but in fact nobody, to be honest, has remarked on the detail on the artwork. People said they like it because it's asterisk based, which is, was intended, and we did that partly to give a sense of it being fun. But if you look, say, in Gaul here, nobody's mentioned the miniers that are in there in Karnak. Nobody's mentioned that we've got a sort of primitive Eiffel Tower built there. And then look at the detail on these buildings, and I just think he's done terrifically well for us there. And he's prepared to go into that detail because he really likes that, not just doing it, because he obviously loves doing his artwork, but he loves the involvement of trying to make the story happen in the game. So we're very, very proud of what he's achieved, and it plays really well on those maps. Somebody remarked on the fact that Italy is very big. Well, there's a reason for that. Italy is much smaller in reality, we know that, but these are the things. We've tried to make it into a really functional game in the sense that it really, really works well, but we've tried to bring that character to it as well. I think finally, just to say, we hope, and a lot of people have remarked on this, even people who've sort of said who didn't quite get the rules have said finally, well, it's a lot of fun, we've enjoyed the game. We kind of wish to say that early on in their reviews and comments, because it's pretty hard to get traction there for the Ragnar Brothers. We're only a small outfit, and we hope some of you might promote the game a bit further for us. But those are the reasons we do our games. We're trying to recreate something I think we enjoyed as young men when we played bigger games, sometimes longer games. They weren't sort of 40 minutes and then put away again and get something else out. You'd spend the afternoon doing it. We play out of an evening. We have beers out with crisps and humours, and we have a lot of banter, and we play a lot of, we like the fun of the game, we roll the dice together, we have our moments of triumph together, we struggle together. And it's a good challenge mentally. There's lots of decisions to be made, but they're not way that difficult. There's not a lot of AI in the game. I think it's one of our best games. We really enjoyed doing it. I must say, I don't want to sound carping, because we have had fantastic support. We've never had so many people support us on Kickstarter as we did with this game, and we've had some great comments back. So we do thank everybody who's supporting us. And well, I'd like to say long may it continue, but as you know, this is our final game. We are still designing other things, and we hope other publishers will have a look at what we're doing. But for the time being, this is the game to buy from the Ragnar Brothers. So please, if you've not bought it, consider it, and please try and play it. Anything you want to say, Gary?
No, you've said more than enough, I think, Steve.
Okay. Sorry it took a bit longer than we expected, but hope you enjoyed it.